Please welcome URJ North American Board Chair Daryl Messinger, Biennial Resolutions Committee Chair Susan Friedberg Kalson, and Director of the Commission on Social Action, Barbara Weinstein.
Good morning. For more than a century, the resolutions adopted by the URJ have been a core way in which we make our collective voice heard. You can see all of our past resolutions in the Biennial app and at urj.org. Among those resolutions is one adopted just a few months ago by the URJ North American Board that sounds an alarm at the growing tide of anti-Semitism and which feels all too timely today. This morning, we consider 3 new resolutions to strengthen our collective voice. These resolutions have been posted in the app as well as the tent and urj.org. The resolution on private prisons was sponsored by 9 of our Illinois congregations, and I thank them for their initiative. The resolution on the opioid crisis and the resolution on reparations for slavery and systemic racism have been proposed by the Commission on Social Action. I want to thank Liz Dunst, the outgoing CSA chair, for her tremendous leadership of the CSA and for so ably shepherding these proposals. All of the resolutions have been shared with URJ congregations in the tent. Congregations have joined in webinars to debate the resolutions. Conversation in the tent allowed for engagement and education. And on Wednesday, we held a learning session to further discussion about the resolutions. To that end, and to ensure that we have the strongest possible resolutions with the greatest buy-in across our movement, we have sent the resolution on labor in the 21st century back to the Commission on Social Action for further consideration and revision, building on the excellent work already done. We will not be voting on that resolution today. On behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I am now pleased to present the resolution on private prisons, which makes clear our opposition to such facilities and calls on us to support their closure. I move adoption of the resolution on private prisons.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Thank you. On behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I am pleased to present the resolution on supporting those affected by the opioid crisis. This resolution calls on us to address this crisis as a matter of public health and to support education, policies, and practices that strengthen affected individuals and their families. We have 2 amendments to the resolution that were accepted by the Resolutions Committee. First, at the suggestion of a congregation, we have removed the word robust at line 109 in the resolution as originally posted. Second, to track earlier language in the resolution, therefore 4B at line 123 will now read, include medications such as naloxone to block the effects of opioids in the event of overdose in their emergency preparedness kit. This makes clear that while naloxone is a key drug to counteract opioid overdose, other drugs may also now be or in the future become available. I move the adoption of the resolution on the opioid crisis.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution passes.
Thank you. I'm now pleased to welcome Barbara Weinstein, Director of the Commission on Social Action and Associate Director of the Religious Action Center.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you to all the Resolutions Committee members. Thank you to the sponsors of the resolutions as well. The resolution on reparations for slavery and systemic racism was proposed by the Commission on Social Action. And although Commission members may have thought we knew what was meant by the term reparations, over the course of several months, the CSA learned, and we continue to learn, about the many forms reparations can take. These include, but are certainly not limited to, expressions of remorse, education, congressional hearings, individual or communal compensation, and more. We also know that other groups have faced injustices, discrimination, and trauma. This resolution, however, calls for study and proposals of reparations to redress the historic and continuing injustices against Black Americans. Whatever form reparations take, they're an important step in healing a deep wound that began with slavery, continued through the Jim Crow era and the era of separate but equal, ongoing discrimination in housing, healthcare, and employment, access to the ballot box, a broken criminal justice system, and continues today as well through implicit and explicit bias. The URJ is working to be an anti-racist institution to bring more justice and wholeness to the world by having difficult conversations about race and inequality. Of course, those conversations are happening within our own congregations and with impacted communities, impacted people within our congregations and communities, including Jews of color. This resolution reflects the Jewish imperative toward teshuvah, repentance, and that must be paired with meaningful steps to correct the injustice that has been done. We want to acknowledge the harm of slavery, the pervasive effects of systemic racism, and the resulting trauma that's been passed from generation to generation. Now we need to begin to turn the tide. I urge you to vote for this important resolution that reflects our highest aspirations as a body that seeks to build a world overflowing with justice.
Thank you, Barbara. There is one amendment to this resolution which corrects a citation within the document originally found on line 8. We've replaced Yakut Shimoni with Perkei de Rabbi Eliezer. On behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of the resolution on reparations for slavery and systemic racism.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution passes. Is there anything else? There's a page. You have one more.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you to Deborah Perlin, my vice chair, and all of the members of the Biennial Resolutions Committee who helped shepherd this process. And above all, thank you to our resolution sponsors whose hard work has resulted in new resolutions that will make our shared commitment to principles of justice even stronger.